NASA does all kinds of stuff. They build space robots, they send up satellites, they study the oceans. But come on, who are we kidding? When most people think about NASA, they think about that. Manned spaceflight, the space shuttle. But now, after 30 years and 135 flights, NASA has decided to close down the space shuttle program. The shuttle is an amazing machine. It takes off like a rocket, but lands like a plane, so it's reusable. Main gear touchdown.
Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery with the Hubble Space Telescope.
It's had some spectacular successes. It carried the Hubble Space Telescope into orbit, letting us see millions of times farther into space than we ever could before.
Houston Endeavour, we have capture of Zarya.
And the shuttle built the International Space Station, hunk by hunk. Made possible by its huge cargo bay, its airlock, and its robotic arm.
What we're doing right now, Rick, is
It launched the first American female astronaut into space, and the first black astronauts.
Take me around the world one more time.
Why not?
The shuttle has become a fixture of pop culture, a movie star.
Houston, this is a kick-ass ride!
But the space shuttle has also developed a reputation for technical problems. Originally, it was supposed to fly dozens of times a year, and cheaply.
And I think we may have oversold in the beginning the reusability and how easy it would be to get into space.
William Gerstenmaier has been with NASA since 1977. Today, he's in charge of the shuttle and the space station.
Things that we thought we would just get it back, just turn it right around and go fly, it turned out we got it back and we had to go do a lot of inspection in between, and that's increased the cost a little bit from what we were originally projecting.
The shuttle isn't some mass-produced SUV. Each one is basically hand-built from hundreds of thousands of complex custom parts. That's one reason it's so finicky. I learned that firsthand back on April 29th, when I joined about 700,000 other people to witness the Endeavour's final liftoff. Everything seemed to be picture perfect. We were all psyched for that historic moment. Then, 2 hours before blastoff, NASA discovered a glitch and delayed the launch for 2 weeks. Turned out to be a tiny blown fuse.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
The shuttle's complexity was also responsible for its two far more traumatic failures: the Challenger disaster in 1986 and the disintegration of the Columbia in 2003. Terrible accidents that killed everyone on board. But for better or worse, in good times and bad, the shuttle was a symbol of American technical superiority. It was the unmistakable icon of a nation on the rise. And it's sad to see that era end. But William Gerstenmaier says the shuttle isn't ending because we've lost our mojo. It's because the next missions require different designs to go into deeper space, like the Orion capsule that NASA just unveiled.
We need more of a smaller capsule that can take that heat of coming back from those larger destinations with a higher reentry velocity. So we need a smaller, more compact vehicle than the winged vehicle we have today.
In the meantime, we're still supposed to be doing research on the International Space Station. But the space shuttle that we used to get back and forth is now retired. So how are we going to get back and forth now?
We're going to use the Soyuz spacecraft, which we've been actually using for crew rotations for about the last 2 years.
That's right. We're renting seats from the Russians.
Discovery, your go for umbilical disconnect.
I was actually the pilot or the co-pilot on the Hubble Space Telescope mission in 1990. Now you talk about thrilling missions.
Charles Bolden was an astronaut on 4 missions.
See you coming up. Okay, Z is minus 538.
Today, Bolden is the head of NASA.
I'm going to outsource access, the provision of access to the International Space Station, while I take NASA's funding and I go explore.
Liftoff.
As a backup to our Russian rides, NASA has hired commercial spacecraft companies to build a space shuttle replacement, so NASA can focus on more ambitious missions.
we could conceivably put a human on the surface of Mars in 2030. The president has told us he wants us to rendezvous with and put astronauts in the vicinity of an asteroid in 2025, no later than.
Still, as the shuttle retires, NASA's manned space program is at a crossroads.
The commercial vehicles are not yet ready. The commercial cargo delivery systems are not yet ready. Commercial crew vehicles are several years, even farther away.
Scott Pace used to work for NASA. Now he's the director of the Space Policy Institute at George Washington University. He's not sure NASA will ever send another manned rocket into space.
There may not be one. It may be one where NASA simply buys commercial launch services, or it may be that NASA decides that it really does need to have a government-owned and operated vehicle. The existence of commercial airline services does not mean we don't have military cargo transports. We have both, and we use each as appropriate.
There were 3 working space shuttles left. That's the Atlantis, being wheeled out to the launch pad for its liftoff in July. The Endeavour is in space right now. It will land for the last time on Wednesday. And the Discovery lifted off for the last time in February. Right now it's in that building over there, already being dismantled.
This is the shuttle Discovery, and they're in the process of safing the vehicle, they call it. It's really decommissioning. They're getting the toxic propellants, all the things in there that can cause damage. They're taking those off the vehicle, then they'll ship them off to the museum.
Bill Harwood has been a CBS space analyst for 20 years. He calls the shuttle a magnificent failure.
It was a failure in that it didn't deliver on the political promise from the early days of 25 flights a year and low-cost access to space, but it was a magnificent vehicle, and I think everyone's going to miss it when it's gone.
Intellectually, I think we've been known this end is coming, but I think emotionally it's still tough as each vehicle kind of retires.
Yeah, it'll be emotional, but it's necessary. We're being given a very, very, very rare opportunity to make this nation, again, be the leader of human exploration beyond low Earth orbit. I cannot believe the American public won't say, hey, I want to be a part of that. I want to be living when humans once again travel beyond low Earth orbit. I want my kids to see what I saw, I'll cry, in 1969 when humans walked on the moon. I want my granddaughters to see another human go to another heavenly body. So yeah, I get emotional about that, and I apologize.
I totally understand. I do too.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why, 2 weeks ago, when the Endeavour was finally cleared for takeoff, suddenly all the delays and the glitches didn't seem to matter. So the space shuttle may not be technologically necessary anymore, but it had a huge symbolic value, a poetic, patriotic value, and it's sad to see it end. And now, NASA will retool. It hopes to go where the space shuttle was built to go, onward and upward.
3, 2, and liftoff for the final launch of Endeavour, expanding our knowledge, expanding our lives in space.